This is the news the aldermen and staff of Lake Macquarie have been waiting for.
The bicentennial grant to Lake Macquarie City Council is $1 million, or rather the local committee, is $1 million for the Bicentennial Community Centre.
The council is obliged to contribute a further $2 million towards the first stage of the complex, and the Mayor, Alderman Pasterfield, says the money is in hand.
Council's pretty solidly based. We have been aware of our capacity for this for some considerable time, and we have every confidence that we'll be able to carry out our part and that this will be a marvellous project that everyone's going to appreciate and applaud when it's completed.
The 1,850 metre square centre will include 2 meeting rooms, a kitchen and a multi-purpose area. Town Clerk Mr John Rankin says construction should begin in about 3.5 months, hopefully with the local builder, with the completion date of January 1988. The Premier also addressed the Newcastle Chamber of Commerce, saying that the winning of the submarine contract will hasten the necessary move towards high-tech industries. But he says obtaining the contract still requires a lot of work and cooperation from unions and employers.
I'm not suggesting that either unions or employer groups abandon their legitimate roles in the industrial relations arena. But the challenge to win the submarine contracts imposes very heavy responsibilities on all participants in the system.
The Premier says the state government is committed to ensuring the New South Wales bid is successful, and he says the initiatives announced in this week's budget will go a long way to proving that to the 2 tenderers. Rutherford High School was opened by the Premier today. The $4.4 million school has been in operation since 1985 and now has a school population of 900 students. The Premier says the new school has an opportunity most other established schools would envy, and that's the chance to build a new tradition of innovative educational excellence.
Known as Hunter Happenings featured some of the most successful tourism events in the region, including Surffest 85, which attracted an estimated 30,000 people on the final day. Other events featured included the Manning River Aquatic Festival, Maitland Steam Fest, the Stone Horse Week, and the Mile Prawn Festival, which was attended by 11,000 people. NBN won the National Tourism Award in the media section. The campaign also won a New South Wales Tourism Commission Award for Excellence after being nominated by the Hunter and Lower North Coast Tourism Authority. When is a fire engine not a fire engine? When it becomes a mobile hive for thousands of angry bees. This was the unwelcome surprise that greeted firemen at Newcastle Station around midday today. The swarm buzzed their way into the station yard and promptly made their home in the rear hose compartment of a fire ladder truck. For once, the normally brave fireman decided that discretion was the better part of valour and called in a beekeeper. The brave man was apiarist Alan Crick from Warners Bay, ably assisted by Wayne Hurley. If you're wondering why they don't wear any protection, well, Alan explains he's been bitten so many times he's built up a resistance. As for the bees, they're normally well behaved so long as you leave them alone. Swarming occurs when a hive of bees outgrows its home. Then a queen, followed by about half the bees, leaves in search of a new resting place, in this case an innocent fire truck. It took most of the afternoon for Alan and Wayne to move the bees into a box. They'll eventually be given a new home in a forest, far from the city and Newcastle Fire Station. The inner city suburbs of Tyes Hill, Wickham, Islington and Maryville have been under pressure from industry and traffic since they were rezoned from residential to industrial commercial in the 1950s. The Newcastle City Council's planning study is an attempt to do something about the problem. Tyes Hill, Maryville and Islington residents groups finalised a submission to the study at a meeting today. The meeting was addressed by the Deputy Director of the Council's Planning Services Department, Rob Winston. The submission calls for landscaping and recreational development of Throsby Creek, townhouse-style development and a tree planting program. Above all, locals want their suburbs rezoned residential and the road system redesigned to prevent heavy traffic on suburban streets.
Get the area brought back into a residential area, industrial zones made residential zones, the through traffic through the area reduced so that it's only residential traffic into the area. This also trying to make the area as truck free as possible. We unfortunately had the incidents this morning of a small child being hit on William Street and only slightly injured. It's incidences like this that the residents are really upset about in general.
This week, the Newcastle Police Station will be the recruiting centre for the Hunter region. With a target of 2,000, the Police Department has made an all-out effort to increase its force throughout the state. Constable Wilson from Sydney's Equal Opportunity Unit is one of 2 officers who will be conducting the interviews.
We're asking people to bring in their education qualifications, any trade certificates, the HSC, preferably with an aggregate of 230 and a good pass in English, or any tech courses that they might have, any tech certificates, as well as birth certificates and any relevant other paper that they have.
Shows a need for properly designed and fitted safety restraints.
Note the path
Without
of the
them, even in low-speed
baby.
crashes, a baby can
Flung
be
from the
seriously
bassinet,
injured.
it's
And while the
like
restraint does
throwing
not
the
provide a
baby out
safety
of a
guarantee,
four-storey
it
building
does give
onto
maximum
concrete.
protection. Last year, 84 children under the
Less
age
than
of
half
12
the
months
babies
were killed
born
or
each year in
seriously
New South
injured on the
Wales
state's
leave
roads.
hospital in any
These figures
form
have
of
prompted
car
the rental
safety
plan.
restraint.
Participating hospitals and councils can buy the baby restraints at low cost and in turn rent them to parents for a 6-month period for around $25 with a $10 deposit. Advice on properly fitting the restraints in a vehicle is also provided. State Director of the authority, Harry Campkin, says the safety of babies is often neglected and that it's not enough for a parent to nurse a baby in a moving car.
We understand their emotions, of course, but we've seen some graphic pictures this morning of just how difficult it is to contain a baby within a motor vehicle, and a mother simply cannot hope to hold that child's security in a very serious crash.
So, Mr Campkin's advice to new parents is to make their baby's safety a top priority.
Make sure you know before the final days of confinement just what your plans are for fitting a child restraint.
So when they leave the hospital, the child should be in a baby restraint?
Should be there from day one. When mother takes the child home, should go straight into the safety capsule.
The message from the Traffic Authority is clear. Whether parents take advantage of the new rental plan or buy their own, all babies should travel in approved restraints.
Ella, one of 3 brothers and a sister who came from humble beginnings to the spotlight of international sports competition, retired from the game when he was just 25 years old and in his prime. But he regrets nothing, including the refusing of a $300,000 offer to play rugby league with St George.
I've got no regrets. I came back from the Grand Slam in '84,
felt that I've achieved what I thought the pinnacle of my career was, and therefore decided to retire. And even though Australia is still going very, very strong and I could be very much part of that team, I'm just content being a spectator and involved in the media side of it.
What about rugby league? You talked here today about figures of some 300,000 for a season and a half of rugby league. Many people would say, Ella must be crazy not to take that.
Well, I think many people are right. Well, I had my own reasons why I didn't go to rugby league, and I probably think back on it now and probably say, as you said, I was crazy not to take up the offer. It could have set me up for life. But I've got my priorities. I'm very happy with what I do. Money doesn't mean that much to me, although I suppose the challenge of rugby league would have been one of the incentives for me to play. But I felt I've achieved enough in rugby, and why gamble on that reputation in another code?
Australia have beaten everyone in sight, bar South Africa. Will they get the opportunity?
I think we will get the opportunity in the next couple of years, whether it's a rebel side or whether it's official touring side. I know most of the players are very keen. Again, the only question left is South Africa. If we beat South Africa, Australia are the best. And I think, along with the coach, there's a burning desire to get across there, and I think we will in the next couple of years.
Okay, mate.
The Greater Newcastle Area Board will administer the western suburbs, Royal Newcastle, Wallsend and the Mater hospitals, although the Mater will also retain its existing board. 10 people have been appointed, 5 for a one-year term, including Commissioner John Varnum, who has been elected board chairman, Dr Doug Huxley, Joyce McCarthy, Professor Richard Heller and Dennis Nichols. 5 people have been appointed for just over 3 years. They are Professor John Hamilton, Robert Caddies, Ria Kay, John Alderson and Jacqueline Diplock. The chairman of the Upper Hunter Area Board, including Muswellbrook, Scone, Murrurundi, Denman and Merriwa, is John Connors from the Muswellbrook Hospital Board. Chairman of the Northumberland Area Board, including Cessnock and Curry, is Noel Mitchell. While chairman of the Lower Hunter Board, including Maitland, Singleton and Dungog, is Ken Guy, a former mayor of Maitland. The acting regional director of health, Ken Miller, explains how the appointments were made.
It was determined on merit. Applicants had to apply to the department and then they were reviewed by the Minister, and it was attempted to provide as good a cross membership as possible.
Do you think the 4 hospitals within the Greater Newcastle area are all well represented on the board?
Yes, they are. Most hospital boards have at least one representative on the board.
Will the boards be allocating funding to the hospitals within their area?
Yes, they will be. Following allocation of funds to the area by the region, they will then distribute the funds within their area.
Most of us realise that the community is paying the price for the drug problem, but not many of us come in contact with drugs. So what's it really like to be an addict? Today we visited the Cessnock Corrective Centre. 330 prisoners are here at the moment. About 70% are here on some form of drug-related crime. We spoke to an addict of 17 years.
I don't think I know one person in this jail that honestly doesn't want to get off heroin.
Jeffrey Powell is 38 years old. He first got involved in narcotics in 1969. This is his second time in jail, and for the sake of his wife and young son, he's determined to make it his last.
I used drugs at that stage, now looking back in retrospect, as a means of gaining attention from my family. And then once involved, it was very, very hard to get out of that.
What kind of an effect does drug taking have on somebody? We look at you, you're fit, you're healthy. Is that the standard outlook of a drug addict?
No, well, you're looking at a drug addict that's been free of drugs for nearly, well, just on 18 months now. I've had a couple of busts, mind you, but no binges, as we call it.
Heroin is expensive, costing addicts about $600 a day. Before his latest conviction, Jeffrey was finding $150,000 a year just to feed his habit. He got involved in importing and supplying the drug to others.
You'll find with most drug addicts, they've abused their family, they've robbed their friends, and they get to a stage where they just feel down and out. You wake up in the morning and you look for your next shot, and when you get your next shot, you look for your next shot.
What does it do to you physically and mentally?
Mentally, it probably stops you growing. Physically, it drains you of all your energy. You virtually become a vegetable.
You look healthy. Is it easy to kick the habit?
No. It took 17 years for me to get to where I am now, and I would say that I'll spend the rest of my life and I will die a drug addict.
If you had the chance to say something to somebody anticipating using drugs, what would you say?
First of all, I'd say don't try it, whether it be marijuana, whether it be a pill, or whether it be a narcotic. If you don't have the first one, you don't have to worry about the second one. And it's the first one that's the killer.
Cessnock Corrective Centre has recently established a drug and alcohol counselling service which is slowly gaining acceptance. But prevention is better than cure. And tomorrow night, Janelle Provost looks at what's being done to reverse the drug problem in our community. Releasing the Society's annual report today, the Managing Director, Frank Witherspoon, said an indication of his firm's strong performance was that the Newcastle Permanent is the only building society among the 5 major ones in the state to achieve a profit growth. As Mr Witherspoon said, size is no longer the measure of strength, and the result is even more satisfying considering the major changes taking place in the finance industry.
Particularly satisfying. Deregulation is something that has concerned a lot of people. In fact, it's filled them with fear. I think an examination of deregulation will reveal 3 things. 1, it reveals change. 2, it reveals a greatly increased level of competition. But thirdly, and I think something that most people tend to overlook, is that any change brings with it, of course, opportunity for greater success.
And opportunity for takeovers, one way or another?
Yes.
Are you predicting something there?
No, I'm not. I'm prepared to say quite categorically, so far as the Newcastle Permanent is concerned, we are not going to be involved in any takeovers, any mergers, any amalgamations. For the last 83 years we've been in the building society business in this town, and for the next 83 we are going to continue to be totally independent.
But for those struggling to pay off a house, or worse still, battling to raise a decent deposit and get started, Mr Witherspoon could offer no relief from the present 14.5% interest rate.
Let's look at what we do with the profit. In fact, the profit means that there is greater security for the depositors. It means that because this money is working for us free, henceforth we can pay more to the depositor, charge less to the borrower. We can accept the inevitable increase in expenses. We can continue to be a reliable source of housing finance. We can go ahead, we can extend the range of financial services we offer to the community, and beyond all of those things, we can still offer the degree of security that is so important to anybody who deposits with any financial institution.
So it's still for the...
Mr Witherspoon also foreshadowed that in the next month, the Newcastle Permanent would become the first New South Wales building society to introduce an approved deposit fund, and in the same period would launch cheque accounts.
The 2 commercials will be shown on national TV. The first will emphasise driver awareness of bike riders.
And have you thought of what happens when you make a left turn in front of a cyclist? Or suddenly open your car door without first checking for a cyclist? Consider a cyclist as you would yourself. They're people too, you know.
The second concentrates on what riders can do to minimise accidents.
Something? You want to be safe, don't you? So you'll need to wear something bright. And you'll need a protective helmet. And a bright rear flag. feel safer now? And for night riding, you'll need a headlamp. And wheel reflectors, tail lamp, rear and pedal reflectors. Bike bright, and you'll bike right.
Today, the Minister said Gateshead West Primary School was an appropriate choice for the launching because of its commitment to road safety education. The school is one of a few which actively incorporates both bicycle and road safety education in its curriculum. The Minister says that ongoing education, the Police Department's bike safety program and input from groups like the Newcastle Cycleways movement will help in reducing the amount of accidents involving cyclists.
Other road users need to respect the needs of bike riders and motorcycle riders.
The 5-star rating was awarded to the coal preparation plant by the International Loss Control Institute, a safety surveillance company used by major industries throughout the world. The plant scored more than 90% on 20 elements of safety. These elements include the provision of safety equipment, employee training, preparedness for emergencies, and even an employee's safety record at home. Plant manager Brian Latham says the company's record speaks for itself. Only one injury recorded at the plant over the last 445 days. This is at a plant which employs 64 workers over a 24-hour roster and handles more than 3.5 million tonnes of coal each year. He also says the scheme has saved the company millions of dollars in workers' compensation payments.
There's no doubt about that the savings that can be made with this sort of scheme run into millions. Our workers' compensation premiums run into that, and these sort of schemes we've seen marked reductions which running into hundreds of thousands of dollars already from this sort of scheme.
Mr Latham says one less visible but very important spin-off from the emphasis on safety has been improved worker morale.
Yes, they've been very enthusiastic and have cooperated fully. I think they've seen the benefits. We have a very efficient and safe plant here, and I think most of them enjoy coming to work here.
This is Bar Beach, Newcastle, as we saw it today. And this is how John Earl transforms the well-known landscape. At 31, John Earl has been painting for the past 6 years. In that short time, he's earned a substantial reputation. His Bar Beach landscapes are perhaps the best known by local art enthusiasts, but his subjects include the waters of Greece and Florentine hillsides. He's highly regarded for his treatment of colours.
Well, I just try and make them look interesting and look nice. So, like colour-wise, I try and, get interesting little vibrations of colour happening there. And so I guess if they're appealing to me, they probably appeal to other people, and so that's all right.
Would you say you have a sharp eye for detail?
Yeah, I try and sharpen it up, but, I like to get as fine as possible as an eye for detail. That I can.
But his latest works display an exciting entry into surrealism. A strong landscape element is central to the works, but the influences of artists such as Brett Whiteley are very evident. The contrast is healthy and exciting. The exhibition opens tonight at Cooks Hill Galleries.